Remember the dot-com bubble? When the whole world was investing in the internet and Apple Computer was just 91 cents a share in January 2000? If you missed that, remember when Bitcoin was just 6 cents in 2010? If you made investments in those back then, you would be sitting on a pile of money. But you probably missed those opportunities of a lifetime, like most people. Now you've heard that cannabis is the next big thing. But where do you invest? If you bought stock in the early cannabis companies, you know how disappointing that turned out. The secret to investing in cannabis is not in the stock of those huge publicly traded stocks on Wall Street where the big gains have already come and gone. The secret is getting in on the ground floor where it all starts. Literally the ground floor. Because as big as the cannabis wave will soon be, nothing happens until someone grows it. And you can't grow it until you have the space to grow it in. Investing in the grow space, the real estate, the actual space where cannabis has to be licensed to grow, that's the internet of today. The challenge is to find the right space in a state that licenses cannabis with rules and regulations that make it a legitimate industry. In a state that has huge demand and disposable income, with people that are eager to buy and use cannabis regularly and safely. That place is Massachusetts. Massachusetts has become one of the largest cannabis markets in the U.S., with average weekly sales exceeding $20 million. 7 million people, bigger than Colorado, Nevada, Washington, and Oregon, the other big cannabis legal states. This explosive growth in consumer cannabis sales has put enormous pressure on cultivation production, where supply is not keeping pace with growing demand. To produce commercial-grade cannabis in sufficient quantities to keep up with demand, cultivators are seeking virtually any permitted facility to grow product at whatever costs are affordable. The result is a significantly growing spread between supply and demand that creates huge opportunities for facility owners who are able to produce cannabis at a reasonable scale. Our business model is the perfect answer. We're a locally owned and operated real estate company focused exclusively on leasing complete turnkey cannabis cultivation facilities to licensed cultivators. We have projects in the works for commercial-scale greenhouses at sites across the state, and our project in Orange is now open for new investors without being directly exposed to the uncertainties of the cannabis industry. Our revenue is from the real estate and facility lease payments, not direct cannabis sales. Investors will be providing funding for the hard assets, such as buildings and ag facilities, and compensated through the lease revenue paid by each cultivator. Grow Space Orange will not be directly involved in the actual cannabis operations, but as the landlord, will be able to deploy resources in ways that are faster, more efficient, and less expensive than if each cultivator were to attempt to do this on their own. How do we know this is such a huge investment opportunity? The U.S. cannabis market is exploding and becoming one of the largest cannabis markets in the world. Recreational cannabis has entered the mainstream across half the country, and demand is soaring. Massachusetts alone is a huge underserved market, projected to be $1.9 billion by 2023. According to MJ Biz World Daily, average weekly sales in Massachusetts in 2020 exceeded $10.5 million. In January alone, daily demand was $2.8 million, or roughly $20 million a week in sales. And because cultivators are limited under state law to a maximum of 100,000 square feet of cultivation area, it's unlikely supply will ever be adequate to sufficiently satisfy demand. The result is a near-perfect situation for those on the supply side, where virtually everything produced has an extremely high value well into the future, with no foreseeable end to the expanding demand. So, here's where Grow Space Orange comes in. It's extremely difficult, time-consuming, and expensive to break into the commercial cannabis industry in Massachusetts. To produce commercial-grade cannabis in sufficient quantity to keep up with demand, cultivators are forced to develop permittable facilities at virtually any cost. But finding acceptable facilities to build at competitive rates in a timely manner is becoming increasingly difficult, if not impossible. Securing properly zoned land with access to water and power can take a year or more. Then a state license can take another year for a permit. We save time and money. We have the land, then we build the facilities while the cultivators wait for their license. Our Orange site is the result of an extensive property search along the Massachusetts Route 2 corridor. The site features 4.55 acres of cleared industrial land with the full complement of water, power, and sewer directly off the main access road. Approximately 3 acres is suitable for an outdoor cultivation beginning in the spring of 2022. This will be Massachusetts' first solar-powered cannabis cultivation facility, with an emphasis on low-impact, sustainable, renewable agriculture technologies. The cultivators who will be using this facility are superbly suited for this project, richly resourced with agriculture expertise, and well capitalized to succeed. Plantings will commence in late spring 2022, with the first crop expected in October. The annual lease payment will be made to the company when the cannabis is sold. The 80,000 square feet of total canopy should generate 1,250 pounds of product annually, resulting in combined annual lease and fees of just under $1 million. The detailed income statement and cash flow is in our presentation. New investors are able to get in at the perfect time where the groundwork has already been laid without having to deal with the uncertainties of permitting. Investor funds will pay to complete the project, including cultivation buildings, irrigation systems, and electrical hardware. Invested funds will earn an annual rate of 12% payable quarterly through to 2025. These will be convertible notes, where the principal investment will either be converted into equity shares or paid back in early 2025. This is a comprehensive facility where Grow Space Orange will own all the assets and provide a complete turnkey site for cannabis cultivation, allowing the tenant cultivators to focus exclusively on cultivation activities to maximize production and revenues. So why invest in Grow Space Orange? It's a well-defined business model with fixed returns for investors secured by real estate, following strict state compliance and licensing requirements, avoiding market fluctuations in product prices, which are insulated by leases, in a booming Massachusetts cannabis market which fuels demand. So, if you missed Apple in 2000 or Bitcoin in 2010, don't pass this opportunity for cannabis in 2021. Invest where it all starts, in the cultivation of cannabis, and specifically in the actual grow space. Do it today. Investment is limited to the first $1 million, with typical tranches of $10,000 with an affordable minimum. That means only a limited number of investors will be accepted, and no more. With the huge interest in cannabis building daily, this opportunity will go fast. Act now.